Hey everybody, welcome to today's Bing Webmaster Tools webinar. We're going to walk you guys through an overview of the Webmaster Tools suite, right from the front end of this thing all the way through the back end. There is quite a bit of material to cover, so the pace will be fairly quick today, but a couple of things to remember. One, we are recording today's webinar, so we will be able to offer you guys a video probably late next week, barring any technical issues on the Webmaster Tools blog, so you'll be able to refer to it at any point in time. On top of that, everything that we're going to cover is obviously available through the Webmaster Tools. So you can always log into your account and you will see everything in there. So I'm going to get started. Before I do, though, I am going to introduce myself. My name is Dwayne Forrester, and I am one of the folks that actually helps run the Bing Webmaster Tools program. I've got about 15 years experience as an SEO. I used to do SEO at MSN. I've written a couple of books along the way, and now I'm one of the main evangelists for Bing, working specifically with small businesses and webmasters. So that's why I'm here. I know you guys are here because you want to take a look at our tools and learn some more, so we'll get started. Up on your screen right now is just a bit of a quick comparison. Some of the things that you'll be able to see in the Google program versus the Bing program. A lot of these areas, they overlap. They're important pieces of information, and you should be looking at them in both of the major search engines. It's a great way for you to understand the reality of your situation as it exists on the internet. So really important that you look at both sets. But you will find some things available through Bing Webmaster Tools that do not exist at our competing products. Specifically, we have an organic keyword research tool. We give you detailed ranking stats. We have great information on indexing in our system. We've got the index tracker, which allows you to see how we actually have you listed inside our index and which pieces of content. We send out canonical alerts. If you really get your canonicals wrong, we're going to send you an alert to let you know that it's a problem and you should fix it. We do prepare SEO reports every couple of weeks automatically for you on any verified account or any verified site you have in your account. We have an on-demand SEO analyzer, and we have the link explorer as well. Now, I'll walk through all of those today and a bunch more features as we go through this. Now, there is Q&A available. There's a system in here where we can capture the questions for you. If you want to put the questions in there, I will do my best to get to them and answer them. I will try to answer them on the fly, but obviously I want to make sure we stay on track with this information. If we do run a little bit long at the end, I'll stick around for a few minutes to make sure we get the questions answered for you, gang. All right, let's get going. Now, first thing I'm going to talk to you guys about are the support and guidelines that we offer. There is a dedicated area for webmaster help and how-to that we've built out. You simply go into your webmaster site, Webmaster Tools, and you will see in your navigation a link to the actual help and support documents. These are deep, they're very expanded documents that go into a lot of detail on a bunch of different things, on how to use the actual tools themselves, on what the terminology means, on how to select date ranges, on how to manage exports, on which data is being shown, where Yahoo inclusive data exists and where it does not. All of that information is available in these help and how-to guides. So if you have a question about something, you've actually got two ways to figure out the answers. Inside the tools themselves, you'll see the little letter I inside a little circle next to something. If you hover over that, it provides you more information about that feature or that item that we have noted. In addition, you have these webmaster support and guideline areas. Now, the guidelines, these things are really important. These are our webmaster guidelines. These are things that you guys want to look at. And a lot of this information is similar to things you've seen in the past, but this is fresh from us. We just released this a couple of months ago. It goes into over 40 areas that you want to be aware of, that you want to take a look at. And we even at the end of it tell you some things you want to make sure you avoid. So definitely worth taking a look at your webmaster guidelines. Inside here, we're also going to talk a bit more about 404-page best practices, marking up your site with structured data, so rich snippets if you need to learn more about those. And we'll explain more about link building, how to do it, how not to do it, what's problematic, that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of really great information in here. Also be certain to take a look through the malware and spam section. We have a lot of detail explaining what malware is and what you need to do if you're flagged for malware. Really important that you keep in mind with malware that you may clean up your website, but if you're linking to another website that's infected, we will still actually flag you for malware. Our job is to protect the searcher. So if we protect the searcher, that means blocking a direct path through your website to another infected server. So if you're seeing the error and you know that you've cleaned up your website, it's time to start looking at sites that you link to or sites that you may pull data from, like third-party ad serving servers. They can be infected with malware, so you want to be careful of that. All right. If you happen to have multiple domains inside your Webmaster Tools account, this is the page that you're going to see. You're actually going to see a listing of all of those different domains that you have listed in your account and some basic stats for them right up front, talking to you about number of clicks from search, how often it appeared in search as a percentage, the percentage of whether your page's index has gone up or down, that kind of idea. And you can change a date range on this at any time. You can export this data. Now, this feature is here for multiple domains. If you only have a single domain, you won't see this page. There's no need to see this page. You'll skip straight to the dashboard page. If you click on any one of your multiple listings, you will come to this page. Now, important to note in this, up at the top, near the logo, right above dashboard, is a drop-down. So if you have multiple sites and you're looking at a page inside the tools and you want to compare data across websites, you can click on that drop-down, select another website that you have verified, and we will automatically pivot to show you the same data that you're looking at now, but from the other website. So you can jump back and forth easily. It becomes really useful if you're trying to track keywords and how much traffic you're getting from search at a per domain level across different keywords. Makes it easier to jump back and forth. But this dashboard is designed in an upper and a lower fashion, and I've split it here along the lower edge of this PowerPoint here just to make sure that you guys get an understanding of what's in here. So we're going to talk to you a little bit about site activity in the main area of the website up here, talk to you about pages crawled, what the dates look like. You get to select the date range. You can do that. The drop-down will give you 30, 60 days. You can do custom date ranges if you like, so there's lots of chance to look back. Spark lines are clickable here, so you'll be able to click on one of those and go into a report that actually tells you what that line is talking about and show you the numerical data behind it. In this dashboard page, we also allow you quick access to sitemaps. In this example, we can see that there are 2 sitemaps that have been submitted. One of them has 120 URLs. The other has 0. I know it has 0 because it is a fake sitemap. There is no sitemap at that domain. That is called sitemap3.xml. So, of course, we're telling the website owner the feed was empty when we looked at it. Success means we've crawled it, we've found the domains, we've ingested them. And we're also going to tell you when we last crawled these things. To make it easy as well, you can submit a sitemap from right here. Super easy. Just give us the URL, or better yet, if you have an RSS feed, stick the URL for your RSS feed into this submit a sitemap area. When you click the button, the box will open up, paste the URL in, hit submit, just like that, you're all done. Very straightforward. We'll show you some search keywords in here as well. My viewing pane here is cut off, so that's why you're not seeing the actual keywords, but you'll see them in a minute when we go into the reports. We'll talk to you about the inbound links on this page, just a summary view of who is pointing at your website. And then as you get a little bit lower on the page, you have quick access to things like the Fetch as Bing Bot tool, the Markup Validator tool, and our SEO Analyzer tool. So super easy. Select the tool from the drop-down list, enter the URL, hit submit. The action is taken. We go check it out, generate the report for you. That's straightforward. Obviously, in here as well, you can manage your profile listing. So if you click on the word profile on the top right, you will actually be able to see the profile that's assigned to the website. Quick question coming in. Should we have both RSS feed and a sitemap? It's totally up to you if you want both of those things. Just keep in mind with sitemaps, they have to be clean. 1% clean, which means every time we ping a URL, we expect to see a 200 OK code when we ping that URL. If we see a 300 code or a 400 code or a 500 code, we start to mistrust the sitemap. There is a degree to this, though. 1% is your leniency, which means you can have an error 1 in 100 times in your sitemap. Extremely important you keep your sitemap clean. If we start mistrusting the sitemap, we just stop going to it. You're maintaining it, and it doesn't do you any good. So it's one of the reasons why we suggest stick an RSS feed in there. That way we see your freshest content the minute you publish it. It comes to us automatically. Pretty straightforward. So I'm going to move us on here, gang. I'll talk a little more in a second about the profile information. We'll go through that in a minute as we get down a little bit into this presentation. The first area in the navigation is going to be the Configure My Site area. And you'll come in and you'll see this is where you would submit your sitemaps. You could submit URLs through here easily, and it will tell you about parameters you may have set up that you want us to ignore. There is an action you can take at each one of these steps. These also exist elsewhere on their own page, so it's a whole lot easier to be able to manage these things. Doesn't matter where you come in from, it does the same work. This just makes it a little simpler. It's on one page and off you go. And again, as I come through each area, I will explain them in greater detail. I'm just waiting for my page to update. To wait here, gang, for my screen to update so we can move on to our next slide. Oh, crawl control a little bit. There we go. Crawl control. This one's awesome. So crawl control is how you control BingBot. This is a great tool. What it does is it allows you to come in and actually see the area or the frequency and the timing of when BingBot's going to crawl you and how hard or softly they will interact with your servers. Really great. You literally drag and drop your mouse to create the actual configuration you want. So you can tell us, I want you here at night when my business is slow and my users are not on my website. And in the daytime, I want you to come in very lightly so all my bandwidth is available for my customers on my website. You can configure that right here. Super easy, drag and drop, click your way around. And when you actually go inside the tool, there are drop downs we already give you that are programmed. So you can say, yeah, you know what? I want you to be here from 9 at night till 5 in the morning, but stay away otherwise. So super easy to configure. And as part of this configuration page, we will show you a list of the blocked URLs. So if you submitted URLs to us to be blocked, you don't want them shown in the index, you don't want them shown as a cached version, you want them to be removed, you can come in here and tell us that you want to block these things. So super handy tools through the configuration area. Now, I'm going to dig in here a little more on specific individual tools at this point. Sitemaps. We talked a bit about how to use them. We talked a bit about cleanliness on them. We talked about submitting your RSS feed. They're really important. The trick with sitemaps is if you can't get them right, then maybe you don't need them. I had a question earlier today about creating sitemaps and are there tools available. There are plenty of tools that are freely available online to help you create a sitemap. Be careful with them. I've seen all kinds of problems with these tools. A lot of them will embed advertising inside your sitemap file so that another webmaster who looks at your sitemap file will see the advertising for the tool you used and in hopes that they will then go use that tool themselves. You know what? It's garbage. You don't need to worry about that. There are plenty of tools out there, so just find one that gives you a decent, clean XML file and then use it. But you have to keep them clean. You have to keep them updated. It's not something you should do once a month or once a year. It's something you should be on top of daily or at a minimum weekly to make sure that the freshest content is shown in there and to make sure any old content is not in there anymore. Very important that you stay on top of your sitemaps. Submit URLs. This is an awesome tool. So whenever you want to get content into the index with us, it goes through a series of filters for quality control and these kinds of things. When you submit a URL directly through this tool, a lot of that is relaxed, and it goes directly into the index much faster. That's a really good thing. So if you have new or fresh content, you can submit it here, and it'll get to the index faster. The downside, though, is that it's sink or swim. If that content does not perform really well in searches with people clicking on it and interacting with it, it drops in the ranking extremely quickly and then drops out of the index. You don't need to worry. Our normal crawling will pick it up again. It will get back in the index. It'll get ranked again. But this is a chance for you to see what kind of quality you're actually producing. Stick it in there. If it goes in and it stays ranked well and it continues to get good interaction with searchers, you've got a great pattern. You want to repeat that. If you put something in place and it never ranks well and it never gets any traffic and then you can't find it again, there might be a quality issue. It could be your title. It could be your meta description that's shown as a snippet. It could be your call to action, how the words are written. Maybe you're missing the right keywords. It could be any number of factors that are leading to people not clicking on your result. So really important that you know what you're doing, and you can use this tool to help you kind of figure that stuff out. You are allowed 50 submissions per month, 10 per day. And we have to have a limit on it because spammers want to take advantage of this stuff. So we have this limit in place. But make sure if you're looking at a situation where you're continually using this and nothing's ever ranking, take a look at the quality of your content, of your website. Is it easy to crawl? Is it easy to index? If we landed on the home page of your site, would we find this piece of content you're submitting easily? If the answer to those things is no, we could use a little work, that's an indicator for you. You need to go and invest that work in there. Now, as we continue on through here, we're going to come to the ignore URL parameters. And this is great stuff, okay? Because you may have areas of your site that you don't want indexed for whatever reason. Print is a perfect example in this case. We will actually suggest to you parameters if you have a very complex website. We may find duplicate areas of a website, and then we will suggest a parameter and say, you know what, we probably don't want what's in there. So we will tell you, you should tell us to ignore this parameter. In this feature here, where you submit the parameter you want, you simply type in the word, whatever it is. It could be an ID code. It could be anything at all. And that's it. You hit submit. It goes into the list, off and running. If we're going to suggest them to you, inside that gray bar, just to the right of the submit button, we will actually say parameters we suggest. And then we will have a list of them. And you can just click on one and it will get added into the mix here. So really important that you take a look at this. And again, you can export this and, keep track of it on your own if you want to. It's all in here for you. But again, some people like to control that. Now, we've got a couple of questions here. I'm going to hop over here. How much bandwidth does BingBot use? Is it significant enough to slow our website for the user? The answer is no, not really. BingBot is very dynamic, so every time it comes to you, it's looking to see how much bandwidth it's consuming. And if it sees that your server is starting to slow a little bit, it backs off automatically. So it's a very self-policing system that is very polite to websites. Should we block URLs in a sitemap too? If you're blocking URLs, they should be removed from the sitemap, because the idea behind blocking a URL is you don't want us to have it anymore. And if that's the case, you should be 404ing that URL. That is the absolute best way to get it removed from the index. And if it is returning a 404, it should be removed from the sitemap file. Where's the sitemap for WordPress? Well, first off, you want to start at sitemap.org to fully understand what sitemaps actually are and how they're used. From there, if you look around, you will actually find plugins for WordPress that will be able to generate sitemaps for you. Again, your results will vary, so test out a couple and see which ones produce the cleanest sitemaps. Let's see. 1% threshold, how is that judged? Is a response code for the XML file, or 1 out of 100 URLs returns a problem? And do we see if there are problems? Okay, I kind of covered this, but I'll go through it one more time for you guys. The 1%, yes, 1%, 1 in 100. We need to see, when we ping a URL, that it returns a 200 OK header response code. If it returns a 300 response code or a 400 response code, those are not clean. Because what that's telling us is the URL we asked for either does not exist or exists somewhere else. The point behind the sitemap is to take us to the actual URL. That's what they were created for. So if the actual URL does not exist in the sitemap, we begin to mistrust the sitemap. I can tell you this, working inside the search engine, most people get it wrong. Most sitemaps are broken in some way. This is why we give you clear direction on it, so that you can build them properly. Really important that you take a look at it. All right, done with the questions here. We're going to hop up to crawl control. This is the screen that I was telling you about when you come in. You'll be able to take a look here, and in the drop down where it says custom, we will also give you dates or time frames within a day, and then the graph will just change on its own. But again, you want to make sure that you manage this. Now, I'm going to get really technical here, guys, because inside your robot.txt file, you can put crawl control parameters in there to tell a spider or a robot how to interact with your website. Our crawler will listen to robot.txt first and then the crawl control feature. So if you come in and you set your crawl control, we will follow this. If you set a different parameter in robot.txt, we will follow that first as the absolute directive. It's very important that you pay attention to that, because if somebody makes a change to your robot.txt and you're unaware of it and you think your crawl pattern looks like this, then we could be showing up at a time when you want your bandwidth for your customers. So you want to make sure that you cross-check both of those locations. Really, really important to do that, gang. And again, at any time, you can change this. It's completely in your control. You can change it every day if you like. It's up to you. It doesn't matter to us. We will follow it every time you update it. The next time we're about to go to your website, we will check the parameter that's listed here as we would in robot.txt and then interact with the site based on those directions. Now, block URLs. Inside block URLs, you'll be given an option to block at the directory or the URL level, and you can block a URL or just the cached version of it. So maybe we have your freshest version of a web page, but our cached version is the old, out-of-date version. You don't want people to see that anymore. So you can go ahead and block the cache for an individual URL. Or you can do it at a directory level. You have domain.com/folder. You may want to block the entire folder because the folder is no longer valid. You've moved that content to a new folder. So you can come in here and list those areas out at either a page or a directory level. Now, what's important to remember about this is these blocks expire in 90 days. So we will keep track of this and we will count it down. And if you have enabled in your profile that we can send you emails, then we will send you an alert when we're about 10 days out of that block. We will remind you, do you want to have this block removed or do you still need the block in place? There's a reason for this. If you're blocking a URL, you should be returning a 404 error on that URL when it goes on the internet. If we ping the URL and see the 404, we will immediately start removing it from our index. That's your intention. We will remove it. Fantastic. At that case, you can let the block expire, and it's fine because it's already removed. The item you wanted blocked is removed from the index. That's great. If you're returning a soft 404 or you're simply redirecting to another location, if this block expires, it will be available again in our index. So you want to make sure that you manage your content properly. Very important that you stay on top of this, guys. Now, I'm going to catch up on a couple of questions here. Parameter to ignore list. If it's already ignoring it, if it's there, you're already ignoring it. What action do we take to tell you to ignore it? How do we know that you indeed are? Well, Tyson, if you want us to ignore it, you simply put it into the list. You have to take that action. We may suggest parameters to ignore, but it's under your control. Then you put it in the list and we will ignore that. What you're looking for over time is you want to use the Index Explorer to be able to see if the URL with that pattern is actually in there, and also track your analytics. Look to see what URLs traffic is coming in on. And you should see that URLs with those parameters start to go down from organic search traffic from Bing. So if we delete a site, start fresh. The sitemap is a good way to let Bing know the old content is gone. No, the way you let us know the content is gone is by returning 404 errors on every one of the original website URLs. The new sitemap simply tells us that you have new content and these are the new URLs for it. Verifying ownership of a large site with subdomains. Do we add a CNAME for each subdomain, or will just the root work? Thank you. Victoria, you need to add CNAMEs for the subdomains. A subdomain is classed as an individual website. A subdomain is an individual website, so you need to specifically verify those things. Just be careful if you're using a lot of subdomains, right? Using a lot of subdomains is an old spamming tactic, so you want to make sure that as you build out the website, you don't start looking like you're creating a spamming footprint. So be really careful with the approach around subdomains. Now, disavow links. This is a really hot button item here. Sometimes people will link to you and you don't really like them. So you would otherwise want to say, okay, I don't want, I don't want to be associated with this particular website. Disavow links allows you to come in and say, I actually don't like that website. I don't agree with them linking to me. And what it does is helps us understand your perspective. So if somebody is linking to you and you think it's kind of a sketchy website, you can come in here and you can either tell us to, disavow the link at either the page directory or domain level. And that helps us understand, okay, you know what? You're a pretty clean webmaster. You're on top of things. You're actually running a good website. Somebody who's a little spammy has started linking to you for whatever reason, and you can't control that. We understand it. This helps us understand that, yes, you're aware of it, and no, you don't condone it. Fair enough. Okay? So really useful tool. Funny story about this tool. We turned the tool on, and it took 8 hours, and somebody came in and disavowed links to every one of their own website. So that can't happen anymore. You cannot disavow links to your own website. You shouldn't be, but you cannot now. You can only disavow links for websites pointed at you. So pretty straightforward, gang. So use that if you like. It's a really useful tool. Now, verifying options within Webmaster. You've got 3 actual ways to verify this. One, you can place an XML file on your web server, right? So we will actually we will generate an XML file for you. You can take it, put it at the root of the domain, so www.domain.com/ and then we'll give you the file .xml that you'll place in there. 2, you can copy and paste a meta tag into your home page if you like. It's not visible to the general public, but it's visible to the crawlers when they come through. 3, as Victoria noted earlier in her question, you can go in to your DNS provider and actually make a CNAME change. And if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. Probably doesn't apply to you. But for larger websites or people who run a lot of websites, this may be the way to go because this changes it at the host level and it shows us that you own the domain or you are in control of the domain. That's what the authorization process is actually about. We cannot share information with you until you prove to us that you are allowed to have control of that domain. And these options allow you to do it. Now, I have had questions in the past about, do I need to leave the authorization in place, or can I turn it on, verify, and then remove it? No, leave it in place. Do not turn it off after you've verified your site, because the next time we try to come back to your site, if that tag or that XML file or that CNAME notation has changed or is missing, then we will stop providing information in the account. So you need to have that in place to show that you continually own ownership, that you have ownership and control over that actual site. So really important that you keep that there, folks. Have those disallow links been run through your malware checker? And no. At this point, they're not run through the malware checker. And the links are links you're providing to us. You're telling us about the links. So we may not be aware of the link until after you've told us to us. After that, it's not like we're taking it and looking specifically for malware. We're doing that on our own anyhow. And chances are really good that if you've seen a link that you don't like, we're already aware of it. And if we're already aware of it, then yes, it has been through malware and spam and everything else. Let's see. I've got 4 to 5 good quality websites I want to consolidate into one new site. Best way for moving the content. 301 redirect is your friend. Just make sure that when you build out the one website here, Sal, that you actually build it in a logical way. That is really, really important. Okay. For blocked URLs, can we use 403 forbidden to remove URLs? We prefer a 404 gone. So, Ryan, we prefer the 404. 403s can work. Just takes longer for the system to acknowledge, and that's all. But 404 is the standard for it. Now, this manage users part, this is incredibly important here. I can't stress this enough. This is an area where you need to come in and you can actually tell us who has access to your website. And the reason this is so important is because you get to set up who's an administrator, who gets read and modify permissions, and who gets read only. It's extremely important that you stay on top of this, because if you have an employee that leaves your company and actually comes back into this area and is an administrator or has modify standards, they can change the settings in here. They can block content. They can have it removed from the index. They can do a lot of harm to your website if they continue to have access to this. So you need to have, my recommendation, 2 people set as administrators at all times. You need to keep that in a list somewhere so that more than one person is aware of who it is. You should conduct regular training to make sure everyone knows how to change and update people in here. Go through and make sure that people have the right level of access. As somebody moves a job, they may not need modify access anymore. They may only need read access. So drop them back to read only. It's incredibly important that you manage that. A lot of times when you give someone access to Webmaster Tools, they come in and they start clicking on things and moving stuff around and trying different things to see what changes on their screen. And they may be completely unaware of the changes that they're actually telling us to enact with regard to the website. So that can be extremely powerful and something you want to make sure you police. So you come in here, you're going to enter their email address, you're going to select the URL that you want them to have access to, you'll say what role it is that they're allowed to actually have, and then from there, we'll generate the key, you click the add button, and they're in the list. That's it. Now, I'm going to step up the pace here a bit, gang, and hold off any future questions because we have a bunch more slides to go through here, and I want to make sure we stay on time. Reports and data. This is the main page for reports and data. It's an overview. On this graph, you can drag over anywhere, and as you drag and hover, you will see the vertical line appear and some information telling you about that particular date. To the right are checkboxes. As you check those boxes, you will see those pieces of information populate on the graph. Down below that on the screen, you're going to start seeing information about page traffic. So an actual URL, the number of clicks it got, how many times it appeared in search, what the click-through rate was, where the average click position was, so where you ranked when you got the click, and where the average appearance position was, so your overall average rank position. And if you click on View, you will end up seeing the keywords that are associated with the URL that's there. And so you start looking deeper into page traffic, you see all of this information. It's all sortable. You can click on any of the headers and it'll reformat around that header. And you can actually export all this information as well. This area does include data combined from Yahoo and Bing because we serve search results across both of those search engines. So the traffic you get may be coming from Yahoo or Bing. It's all inclusive in here. Now, if you click on one of those view buttons where you see the keywords associated with the URL, you see this deeper report. And what it does is it tells you, hey, here are the actual keywords that people searched on. Here are the clicks you got from it. This is how many times you appeared, so how many queries were actually run on the particular keyword. This is your click-through rate, your average position when you were clicked, and the average position where you appeared. So really something that is really useful for you, telling you the URL right at the top, giving you the ranking data, some useful stuff in there. Now, Index Explorer. I mentioned this one earlier, and Index Explorer is really useful because what this does is it sets up a very familiar file system that actually shows you what we see in our index and gives you an idea of the data around individual pages or folders. So you come in, you'll click on, in this case, the main folder for the domain. It will open up and it will show you there are 476 folders and URLs. All of these have appeared 5,000 times over the last, this is a 1 month period of time. We've gotten 256 clicks, inbound link count of 6,705 at this time. Then we start breaking out. Here's a folder. If you click on the folder, it will expand and show you more content. Here are individual URLs. Here's another folder, more individual URLs. Now, if we click on one of these, the jeeptires.html, it actually gives us more information. This appeared 124 times in search, got 4 clicks. It was last crawled on January 4th. We discovered it more than 6 months ago. It's an old page. We know that. It's returning a 200 OK code, gives us the document size in kilobytes, and gives us an idea of the number of links at this time pointed at that page. So, really useful tool. If you need or want to understand the actual number of inbound links on something, we have a report that does that, but this is a great way to quickly scan through and find information you're looking for. All right, so search keywords. This is some cool stuff in here, guys. Looks similar to the URL report, but what it does is list everything by keyword in here. Now, obviously, again, you can click across the top and sort by this information. Red means you've gone down or gone backwards compared to your last period of time. Green means you've increased, obviously. So in this case, for this particular keyword, this website has been shown more often but received less clicks. The average click position is 4.4, so still on the front page, but a little below the fold now. and its average appearance is 4.9. Now, it's important to note we're constantly moving sites up and down and testing them within the index, which is why you don't get a round number. It's why you get a decimal number for your position, because we're constantly filtering and trying out different search results when searchers come in to see what makes the best sense for the searcher and their query. So those numbers move around a little bit. Again, you can select a date range. You've got a drop down, pretty straightforward. If you click on the view option, you will actually start to see deeper information. And this is what you'll end up seeing. You'll see the URL that was associated with that keyword. You'll see the same information here about average positions, your click-through rates, these kinds of things. But we'll also give you more detail on the actual result position, the number of clicks you got when you were in that position, the number of times you appeared in that position in search results, and what the click rate looked like for those instances. This is incredibly detailed data. And again, it's all available through your export. So you can pull all this out and go work on an Excel, create all kinds of great reports for yourself in this. It is fantastic. And the way you see this data is when you come in, what you will see is the URL or the served page listed in here. And you just click on the little plus symbol here, and it will expand down and show you the information that's available. Then when you're done, you click it again, and it retracts back into place. So very accessible, very straightforward. Now, this one is really important here. These are the SEO reports. I mentioned that we run SEO reports automatically. We do this about every 2 weeks, and if there's a site that is in your account and it's verified, we will go ahead and scan it. We will run an SEO report, and we will give you the results right here. So in this instance, we've got them listed. We're seeing severity, high, low, moderate. We're telling you what the actual issue is. So title is missing in the head section of the page. That's pretty high. There's 5 pages with it. There's 5 error counts, which means one title is showing up on each individual page. If you've got 10 error counts on 5 pages, that means you've got multiple title tags on your page. So now you've got a code issue you want to fix. So Savvy SEO goes through this, and you'll know if there are actual technical issues or if it's just some SEO stuff you need to fix. Great news is you can take all of this data, you can take it all out, look at it, and there's also another way to come into this, and I'll show you that in a second here. So these are always available. They're always run, so you can come in at any time and take a look at them. Super for being able to create an SEO report for the work that you need to work on. Now, the inbound links area is a really cool feature. This is actually going to show you, as a running graph over whatever period of time you select, the number of links that Bing is aware of pointed at your website as a total. So in this case, on December 20th, it saw 6,336 links, right? And we'll show you the graph, and it's pretty straightforward. Then we're actually going to show you what the URLs are and the number of links that are pointed at each individual URL. Now, if you click on that count of links number, what you will see is this report, the link details. And it's going to come through and show you the source URL that's pointed at you and the anchor text that's used for it. And this will just go down. We will scroll. We will show you thousands of links pointed to individual URLs. So great depth in this, great detail in it. But what's really important is that you understand who's linking to you, because this is a great place to discover maybe sites that you want to disavow links to. Right? I'm looking at this one thinking GreatAmericanRoadTrip2010.com. You know, this is actually probably something that's in a footer or a header, and it appears across a bunch of different pages on a website because it appears multiple times in here. Same thing with this related classifieds website. Same idea. It's showing up multiple times. So these aren't really useful links to me. So do I really want them? I don't know. As a webmaster, I get to decide that. But these reports can help you uncover all of that information. Now, this is also really useful. SEOs will come in here, and it's really important that they pay attention to this crawl information data section. In here, we're going to show you anytime we crawl your site what we're seeing, and we're going to list it all out. If we're seeing 400 requests, 500 internal server errors, 301s, 302s, if there's anything with malware detected, if we're hitting a robot.txt exclusion. So again, keep an eye on your robot.txt. Somebody may go in and put a block in there without you knowing it. And if we hit that block, we'll pop it up in here. You want to make sure, though, that you enable us the ability to email you. If you do that, we'll actually send you an email telling you that we found that error in real time. We'll show you DNS failures in here and connection timeouts as well. So we may hit your server and get a 500 error. The server's offline. Okay, that's the way it should be when a server's offline. If, however, we ping your website and it goes and spins and spins and spins, and time just continues to pass, we're going to give you a connection timeout, because after a certain period of time, we will simply cease to call and try again. We get that 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a row, we're going to throw an error in here and tell you that we're having a problem reaching your server. Now, all of this, sortable. You can come in and sort by anything in the header. You can click on something and actually see the URL, see where it's going. We're going to tell you what the response code is. But a really useful thing is we're going to tell you the number of links that are pointed at that URL. Because maybe you actually have a page that is 404ing that you thought was still live that is offline. This is a chance for you to go back in and put that content live again, or redirect it somewhere else to reclaim the value of those links. So, really useful reporting. We're also going to tell you in here when BingBot last crawled the website. So just right at the top there, very simple, very obvious. This is the last time we were there. So if you come in and you see that the last time is really old, then take a look at these robot TXTs and make sure that you're not blocking us inadvertently. All right, now we're going to move into the fun stuff here, gang. The diagnostics and tools. This is our main page for diagnostics and tools, and in here you can access pretty much anything that we have. So you can do organic keyword research. This is very important. This is an organic keyword research tool. Google's tools are built on the AdWords platform, as are the Bing Ads tools. They're built on the Bing Ads platform, which means that if somebody does not buy a keyword, if they don't buy an ad attributed to a keyword, it will not show up in those keyword research tools. That can be very important for doing long tail or certain topical searches where paid advertising isn't as prominent. So the organic keyword research tool tells you very clearly this is what's happening organically. The good news is you can also go back up to 6 months. So instead of only seeing a 30-day snapshot, you can extend this back. Super useful for understanding seasonality across different keywords and within industries. Really useful. Now, Link Explorer. If anybody's ever used Yahoo Site Explorer, that's what Link Explorer is. We built it to bring back that functionality. You can go into Link Explorer, and I'll show you what it looks like in detail in a minute. You can actually look up links pointed to anyone else's website. This is the only feature where you can put in someone else's domain and get information about it. Everything else in Webmaster Tools is specific to your domain only. But Link Explorer lets you understand who's linking to your competition, what keywords they're using, where they're linking to exactly, if they're using specific phrases on the page, and so on. Really useful feature. Fetches BingBot, super awesome. Give it a URL. BingBot goes out immediately to look at the page, and we run a report showing you the code that we found, that we brought back from that crawl. Really, really helpful. If you've got a WordPress blog, you'll be able to go through and look at your code and understand if somebody's injecting links in there. You won't see those links visually on your blog, but we will see them in the code. So you want to be on guard for that. That's why fetching as bot is really important. The markup validator, if you have rich snippets installed, doesn't matter the language, really useful tool. You can give a URL, hit validate, we'll run the report right from here. SEO analyzer, similar to SEO reports. They run the same rule set, but they do things differently. SEO reports runs automatically in the background every couple of weeks and stays refreshed. SEO Analyzer is on demand. You give it a URL, we go out immediately, we run the report, and we tell you what we found against that URL immediately. So, really useful for testing new areas of your site or fresh content that you just put live. Okay, so this is the keyword research tool. This is what it looks like when you're inside it. You can enter multiple things, one per line, go on down. You can select a country or a region, a language. You can make it strict, so like putting quotes around the keyword, or broad, no quotes. You can do 30, 60, 90 days. You can give it a custom date range. Off it goes. And again, all true organic data. Now, the Link Explorer I mentioned. Come on in here, put in a competitor's website. You can filter at their site level. You can look at it from anchor text level. You can add specific keywords. So if you know a keyword appears in relation to this content, you can add it to see only pages with that keyword that have a link pointed at them, right? You can scope to a URL or a domain. So only the URL or the domain all up that you've entered. You can scope for internal or external. So you can take a look at this and say, what does the internal structure of a competing website look like? What are they linking to themselves? Can give you a clue about what they think is valuable content. Really useful stuff. So if you need link data, use Link Explorer. Fetch's Bing bot, as I mentioned, this is kind of what it does, right? You come in and you tell it, this is my URL I want, go fetch. It creates a running list of these things for you. When the report is completed, you click on it and it gives you the text that we see, gives you the actual code base that we encountered when we visited the website. So, again, useful for finding out if somebody may have injected something into your code or hacked your website in some way. Markup validator. You enter the URL, you hit validate. If you need resources, the common languages that we support are listed to the right. Click on one. You'll go to that website. You can learn more about that language. We support all of them. Schema.org is the one that we recommend. It is a joint protocol between Google, Yahoo, and Bing, so obviously we recommend it. If you're using any of the others, that's totally fine. We can read them all. There's no need to change anything. What will happen is when you enter this, if it comes up fine and you see your actual page laid out, everything is inserted properly per the proper syntax. If, however, you get an error message, means there's an issue and you need to go check your install of your rich snippets. So, really useful way for checking your work out. The SEO Analyzer. I'm going to walk through this one. We're getting kind of close to the end here, gang, so I want to walk through this one fairly quickly for you. SEO Analyzer, this is what it visually looks like. You give it a URL, hit Analyze, tells you what the suggestions are, the errors, and it will tell you with these little circles, if you expand it, it will tell you it's a high severity, multiple H1 tags, here's what the code looks like, and you want to go fix it, and here's why. So, if you need to learn SEO, you can actually use this tool to understand why things matter to SEO. Now, the next few items that are in here, these are just a walkthrough of 1, 2, 3, the steps that happen as you go through this. So you enter this is what you're going to see on your screen. We have some high severity, moderate severity, and low severity issues showing up. We're going to tell you what they are. We're going to tell you how many instances of they are. If you click on something, you will actually see it expand. So in this case, we've got multiple H1 tags. We want to see what that looks like. We click on it, and it tells you, here's the recommended action. Here's the SEO explanation behind it. So really useful. Everywhere you see a red dot overlaid is an instance of an error. Everywhere you see a blue dot is an instance of an error. Everywhere you see a yellow dot is an instance of an error. From there, you know what work to go do. So extremely handy for that. Duplicate slide there. Now, the message center. This one is extremely important, and it's really important that people pay attention to this area. We will put messages into your account. This is a communication vehicle. We will put messages in here. Things like, don't forget about your free your free advertising credit that's in here. But more importantly, we'll add things in here like query parameters found on a test that we've done and a domain. So this is a warning to you that you want to go check these things out. If you do not have email listed, you better make sure you're coming in constantly and checking your messages. If we find malware, we find a problem with the website, robot.txt is blocking us, we will put messages in here. If you do not allow us to email you, then we can't email you that. If you explicitly tell us you can receive the emails, we will go ahead and do it. Now, profile management. This is the important part. You're going to come in here and put your name, your first name, address, whatever. If it's required, put it in. If it's not, it's totally optional, up to you. The email address. I am going to suggest for most businesses, you create an internal email alias, and that's where these messages get sent. That way, they don't go to a single person and potentially end up in a junk file somewhere. And if the person leaves, there are more people available who will see the message. I can assure you, if there's an issue with being blocked by robot.txt or you're flagged for having malware, everyone's going to want to know about that as fast as possible to solve the problem. So make sure you do yourself a favor, create an internal alias, put it in here and say everyone can receive this information, and then keep it updated as well. If you are up to it, we have a Webmaster API. So you can actually get 90+% of the data via the API. Primarily what's not available in the API is anything visual. So the actual graphs themselves won't come through, but the data is there. The SEO Analyzer, a very visual tool, that is not available through the API. You need to use that inside the tools. But the API exists, so you can take this data and use it elsewhere. So you don't have to be inside Webmaster Tools all the time. There are lots of folks that are using WebTrends or Omniture. You can plug into those services. I think Google Analytics even allows you to plug in an API there and pull in data. So you might want to give that a try and see if they'll accept this data, because it makes it more streamlined for an SEO to work in one location. And this API can empower that for you. All right. This is the wrap-up side, guys. I'm going to make sure I leave this up here. But now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a look over here. We've got a bunch of questions piled up. So I'm going to take a look and see if I can get some of these up to date here. Is there a limit to how many sites we can add in Webmaster Tools? Yes, but the limit is in the hundreds. If you have more than that, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you're spamming. Can we group websites by employee assumption? We add 30 to 40,000 sites. So I really don't understand that one. Probably best to take it to the community, the discussion forum, and post it in there. We'll see what we can come up with for answers. If all the clients are using Microsoft IIS and they run their own logs, can we drop Google Analytics and their Webmaster Tools? You can drop Analytics anytime you want. That's totally up to you. Just understand something. Webmaster Tools and Analytics are two completely different packages. They do completely different things, okay? The IIS server kit, again, a different system. So make absolutely sure you know where the data is and which system is providing it before you turn something off. Because you don't want to turn off an analytics package that's providing critical information like refers. Although a lot of times Google Analytics doesn't show that. It's not provided. So let's see how far. Oh, sorry. And their API so that we can integrate big Webmaster Tools, Microsoft IIS Analytics. You can tie in the Bing Webmaster Tool API to IIS. That's not a problem. And there is a Bing Advertising API that you can also use and plug in. How that works with IIS, I'm not sure. It's a separate product, so you need to test that and see how it works out. Let's see. Winston asked, how far back can we go? Can we see historical data? Yes, Winston. How far back you can go very slightly, but generally speaking, it's actually up to about 6 months. In some cases, it's only 30 days, but that's just because we're limited with the amount of information we have access to from Bing Core Search. Generally speaking, it's 6 months worth of historical data. Parameter to ignore list. I have a Miva store. Got a message from Webmaster suggesting parameters to ignore. Needed to pull up the Miva store pages. Are all the parameters causing Miva Store not to get indexed? Nope, that's not it at all, Lois. And you can ignore that. If you know those parameters are important for you, then don't worry about it. You can just leave them in place. That is not, however, what's causing the store to not get indexed. The problem may be that the platform you're on is difficult to crawl, and we simply cannot find the content. So, again, this comes back to quality. Make sure you take a look at that platform. Why is my crawl information reporting 0? Gina, it may be because we haven't crawled it yet. It may be because we've crawled it and decided that we're not crawling it anymore for whatever reason. Or there could be a bug in the system. So if you're seeing something that you think is a problem, by all means, we have support available. There's an email form you can fill in. Tell us the problem you're seeing. The support team here sees it, and then I and all of our engineers see it as well. If there's a problem, obviously we will fix it as quickly as possible. However, if it's something that we see that's obviously a problem with your website, like your robot.txt is blocking us in some way, or you have your crawl settings set to a degree where we won't crawl you, then we'll also try to communicate that back if we can discover it. Link Explorer sounds cool. Is it a potential replacement for using tools like Majestic SEO? Honestly, Colby, I'm going to say no. We really support the idea of multiple tools. Our tool is not designed to go to the depth that some of the third-party tools will go to. I know the team at Majestic. I've got a lot of respect for them. They build awesome tools. So my suggestion is, depending on your needs, understand, is the extra data you get with those third-party tools exactly what you need? If it is, then you want to use both sets of tools. If you can get by with a lighter look at it, then you can do what you like. Google does not penalize for multiple H1s, HTML5 tutorials. Yes, we understand this. Multiple H1 tags are considered a high severity because in a lot of cases, Ryan, they're still used as spam tactics. So that's why it's showing in there. As HTML5 becomes more readily adopted, you will see these rules change and get updated to reflect that. In fact, if you have multiple H1s and we see you're running HTML5 now, what we actually do is look at the first one and say, okay, we'll use that for SEO purposes, and we will assume the rest of your H1 tags are there for style reasons or design reasons. So it's not like it's a penalty. These are best practices, and we're suggesting that you take a look at them. That's it. What is the max you show for inbound links? We're a super large site. Andreas, generally we top out at a maximum of 20,000 for inbound links. So if there's more than that, there's not much we're going to be able to do to show it to you. But the thing you need to keep in mind, gang, it's not about the quantity. It's about the quality. So what you want to be doing is you want to be taking a really good look at those links and saying, are these actually valuable? And quite frankly, I used to run SEO at MSN, so I understand SEO at the enterprise level at a very large scale. We did no link building. We did zero link building. We looked at it, determined that it was problematic, and it wasn't something we were going to invest in. So we did no link building. We let our content do the link building for us, which is what we recommend for everyone. It keeps you safer. Let me see here. What is the equivalent to Google's link command? We actually have that, Robin, but those commands, some of them work, some of them don't. Like if you do a site colon in Bing, it doesn't return accurate results. All of that data is inside Webmaster Tools. So important that you use those tools and look into them. Let's see, Carolyn, thank you very much. Please use Webmaster Tools. Let's see. The description is too long, too short. Have a look at description tag. It's within the characters allowed. It is informative. Okay, Gina, the trouble with it being informative is it's not up to you to make the determination, okay? Our algorithm is going to look at what people actually interact with, and if we think the pattern of your meta description fits a pattern that fails, then we're going to ignore it. We're going to flag it as a problem and tell you you need to work on that some more. So you have to be really careful about that. In another webinar, I talk at a great detail about this, being sure that you're very, very careful about defining quality. Quality is not defined by you at your level. Quality is defined by the searcher and the visitor interacting with your content on your website. That is the most important level. You need to have, good quality content. You need to have it well written. You need to have a depth to it. You need to have, the number of keywords in there, all of that stuff. And you're going to do all that, and that's important. But that only takes you part of the way. After you've done all that work, if people do not respond to it, it's still low quality. You have to do more work. Let's see, Bernie, thank you for your time today. Verification meta tags, slow page load. Nope, not at all, Lois. No problem there. Let's see, accessible screen readers use H tags to function well. Are we supposed to do with H2 instead of multiple H2s? Christina, honestly, we don't care about H2s. It's not a problem. It's not something that's a best practice for SEO. At this stage, you don't need to worry about it. So you do whatever you need to do with it. I will tell you this. If you are thinking about screen assistive technology, your head is in the right place. You want to make sure you take care of your users first, search engines second. So you're thinking the right thing. Let's see, regarding zero crawl, Gina, inside the Webmaster Tools, there's an area to click to get more help. When you go into there, there's not a forum. It's actually an email that you will send in to us. You will select from the drop-down list and go from there. Okay, so that one's done. Excellent. Let's see here. Brian's asking a question that's a little bit off topic. Brian, my suggestion to you, we don't do anything different with any different types of websites. So if you actually have items that are listed on websites that you need to get indexed, you need to follow the best practices for SEO. You need to make sure we can crawl them, that they're listed in sitemaps. We will find those items, and then we will be able to take them into our index. If there's anything more than that, my contact information is up on the screen. You can hit me at Dwayne Forrester on Twitter. I'm easy to get a hold of. So if that doesn't answer the question to the degree that's useful for you, by all means follow up, and then we can continue the conversation. Guys, we're just over the 1 hour mark here. I'm going to wrap this up. I want to thank everyone for showing up today. We've had a great group of folks. Awesome questions we've had here today, too. So we're going to be looking forward to this. February 7th is our next webinar. Keep an eye on the blog, the Webmaster Tools blog. I publish there weekly. I'll publish more reminders about these, but you can go sign up now for the next couple of webinars we have. And as always, we're going to look at getting this blog as quickly as we can, or I'm sorry, this video onto our blog as quickly as I can. Likely going to be close to the end of next week, barring any technical issues. Other than that, thanks, gang. Hope everybody's having a great winter. We'll talk to you in February.